Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful story about faith, resilience, and what the future holds for Christianity in China.
Right now in China, a quiet battle over the soul of the church is really heating up. The government's escalating its control over religion with some serious new energy, rolling out a wave of regulations that are targeting everyone from local believers to foreign missionaries.
And right at the heart of this campaign, a massive independent Christian movement that's been booming for decades, mostly outside of the government's reach. But now, millions of its followers are being pushed out of the public square and back into the shadows.
Okay, so let's get into it. Is this crackdown actually working? Is it managing to contain this faith movement? Or is it accidentally creating a more resilient, more creative, and even more global Chinese church? That's what we're going to explore today.
But first things first. To really get what's at stake here, we need to understand who exactly is being targeted. What are these house churches, and why does the state see them as such a big deal?
So, we're talking about house churches or 家庭教会. Now, this isn't just about worshiping in somebody's living room. The name is really about one key thing: independence. Specifically, independence from the official state-controlled religious body known as the Three Self-Patriotic Movement, or TSPM.
And you can really see the difference right here. On one side, you've got the house churches. They're independent, operating in this kind of legal gray area, which lets them develop their own unique styles of worship. They often think of themselves as one big family. On the other side, you have the state-run TSPM churches. They're officially recognized, sure, but they're also controlled by the government, which means a much more uniform, formal structure. The real difference you see is their relationship to the Chinese Communist Party.
So, how is the government actually trying to clamp down on this movement and get rid of that legal gray space? Let's take a look at the CCP's toolkit. The whole strategy really comes down to one big policy introduced by President Xi Jinping. It's called sinicization, and the goal is pretty straightforward: reshape all religions to fit in with CCP ideology and socialism, to basically give them Chinese characteristics.
And this isn't just an idea. It's backed up with some serious legal force. It started back in 2018, when new regulations gave the state a ton more power. Then in 2025, more rules came down to restrict foreign missionaries and online religious content. And now, as of this year, a new public security law makes any illegal religious activities a crime you can be punished for.
On the ground, this plays out in a few ways. They're relabeling religious activities as crimes, things like illegal business operations. They're shutting down well-known unregistered churches, like the Zion Church in Beijing. They're hitting people with massive fines for hosting unapproved events. And online, they're systematically wiping out keywords like Jesus and Bible.
So when you see all this systematic pressure, you have to wonder, what does the future actually hold for this movement? Can it possibly survive? And if it does, what will it look like?
So is this whole campaign going to work? Well, history has shown us time and time again that when you try to stamp out faith, you often get the opposite result. You might force it underground, but you rarely get rid of it. In fact, some people argue that the pressure actually makes it stronger. There's this beautiful analogy from a Christian in China that just captures this idea perfectly. He said faith is like the stars in the sky. When the weather's good, you can see a lot of them. When it's cloudy, you might not see any. But you know what? All the stars are still there. Faith persists, even when it's forced out of sight. And that's really the key takeaway here. Experts aren't predicting that this movement will disappear. They're predicting it will transform. The thinking is that the house church will survive by adapting, by becoming smaller, more spread out, and way better at using technology to stay connected. And this is where things get really fascinating. So let's look at two incredible ways this transformation is already happening: in the digital world and through the global Chinese community. As meeting in person gets riskier, we're seeing the rise of what people are calling the digital underground. And it's pretty much what it sounds like: a whole new ecosystem for faith that uses tech to bypass state surveillance and censorship. It's a parallel world for worship, training, and community. And the strategies people are using are incredibly creative. They're using VPNs and encrypted apps for Bible studies. They're sharing disguised content that uses coded language to fly under the radar of the censors. They're getting theological training from secure servers overseas. People are even doing something called walking worship, where everyone goes to a public park and listens to the same sermon on their own headphones to avoid being noticed. It's a constant cat and mouse game. But it's not just happening online. At the same time, all this pressure inside China is fueling a huge movement outside its borders. The Chinese diaspora,
which used to be seen as a place for missionary work, is now becoming a powerful hub for global missionary work.
And these groups have some seriously ambitious goals. Get this, the Hakka prayer movement wants to get 10 million Chinese Christians around the world to pray for a global revival. They're building these incredible networks to support believers back home and to launch their own missions across the globe.
So what's the big picture here? The crucial point is that this intense pressure isn't leading to erasure. Instead, it seems to be forging a new kind of church, one that's scattered, tech-savvy, and globally connected. In a strange way, the CCP's crackdown might be creating the very thing it's afraid of, a resilient faith that can't be contained by borders.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. The story isn't just about survival anymore. The real question now is how this incredibly resilient, innovative, and global movement is going to end up reshaping the future of Christianity all around the world.